hit live, go for it. We-
We're live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to either Sports Talk with Austin or the Jacksonian, depending on which one you are enjoying on this lovely evening. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about on this evening as me and Jackson bring you our special college football live reaction and recaps. Let us know if you like it. If you don't like it, just let us know at the end. Should be fun. But Jackson, first off, how was your Saturday in this beautiful fall season?
Oh, it was pretty cool. It was a pretty wild Saturday night from what I've seen, which we will get to here in a little bit. But it was pretty fun afternoon. But although for some people, for our friends in the Big Ten, it was not a fun day. And I'm not just talking about Penn State, talking about Iowa. But again, we'll get to that in a little bit. How you doing, Austin, on
But
this
hey,
very fine Saturday? It's been quiet without the Louisville Cardinals, man.
I'm enjoying it. I mean, we got a bye week, nice rested, got to see a lot of great games, but now we got Duke next weekend, which we'll talk about that a little bit because we'll get to Duke. But just enjoying this Saturday, and I can't wait to hop to it with you, Jackson.
Oh man, it's gonna be fantastic. Especially starting things off with the big noon kickoff with Penn State and Ohio State. I mean, holy cow. That game, unfortunately, it was not gonna be another big win. It was not going to be a big win for Penn State. I mean, you would think today's the day, right? You would think it would be a fantastic day for James Franklin and the Nittany Lions, but they could not get it done. You know what got them, right? The third down conversion rates, 1 in 16 on third downs. Oh man, that's just insane. I mean, you can't have numbers like that
I mean,
and expect to win big games in Columbus. Good
man,
grief.
Jackson, I had so much high hopes for this Penn State team. I don't know about you, but I had high hopes. Drew Aller once again showing big time spotlight, big road game. Once again, can't get it done. Penn State, you disappoint me. I have so much faith. I was like, this is the year Penn State. They're gonna beat Ohio State, maybe possibly Michigan, maybe push a spot in the playoffs, which the playoffs are still there, but it's looking very dim now. You disappoint me, Penn State. You disappoint me. This is
Well, I
why you
mean,
can't pick them, Jackson. They always disappoint you.
true, but I mean, Penn State still got some playoff hopes. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet on Penn State. I mean, they still got some hopes. I mean, let's see what they can do against Michigan 3 weeks from now in State College. I mean, we'll see what they can do,
I
but
mean,
like
I ain't ready to throw the baby in with the bathwater yet. It's just looking very dim. But go ahead, Jackson.
Hi, this is Chantrice, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A honey pepper pimento
yeah,
chicken sandwich is the richness of the pimento cheese. No, actually, the mild spiciness of the jalapeno peppers. No, it's the crispy chicken. Actually, I can't decide.
that happened. But anyway, so now that Penn State has lost in today's matchup against Ohio State, James Franklin is now 2-12 on the road versus top 25 teams, 0-10 on the road versus top 10 teams, 1-9 versus the Ohio State, and he's 1-12 versus top 5 teams.
I mean, James Franklin, you want people to stop disrespecting you. You want people to give you a little more respect and talk about Penn State as national championship contenders, heck, even Big Ten contenders. You got to win these games because eventually beating Iowa and the Wisconsins and the Indianas and the Purdues, eventually that catches up with you because Ohio State, we're talking about Penn State, how they let us down. Let's give them credit. Ohio State just keeps winning and keeps winning. A lot of people thought Ohio State would take a step back this year with Kyle McCord or Dan Brown because it's no longer C.J. Stroud back there. It seems like their offense is still humming. It's Ryan Day still got this team going, and they showed that they can play any kind of brand of football you throw in front of them. Defense and offensive game. Heck, their special teams even came up big in a couple of spots this year. Ohio State is looking real nice for the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I mean, the way Ohio State's looking, we could see another repeat of last year where both Ohio State and Michigan are 11-0 going into the game, and regardless of who wins, we possibly see both teams in the playoffs. I'm not saying that's going to happen again this year, but I'm saying we could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it absolutely could. But Ohio State's, they've got the resume for it. Even if they don't beat Michigan, their resume, victory over Notre Dame. Now this one, and plus they got Maryland coming. No, excuse me, they don't have Maryland. Pardon me on that.
Wisconsin.
But they've got a couple more games they could possibly. Wisconsin. They got Minnesota, so they've got some games in there that they could possibly put on their resume and keep the momentum going.
Oh man, it's gonna be fun watching what happens for the rest of the Big Ten, especially with the Buckeyes. One thing that I took away from the game was like that first touchdown of the game, how Mayan Williams scored, but it wasn't even so much the Mayan Williams touchdown. It was the penalty called on Penn State, where it looked like it was going to be a scoop and score after Curtis Jacobs sacked Kyle McCord. And then it was just, we got to go back. Ohio State ball, holding on the defense. I'm like, that's a mood killer right there.
I tell you what, Jackson. I tell you what got me frustrated. Did they not learn that you need to cover Marvin Harrison? Good grief. He was just catching everything, running all over the place. And it's like Penn State. He's running 5 to 6 yard crossing and slants. Cover that up, would you? You're making Kyle McCord's life too easy back there. Like, make him go deep and test your secondary. Oh, no, they were content. Like, you have those. And what happened? He goes off and he gets a game-sealing touchdown at the end. Oh, Penn State, you make me frustrated.
Wow. I will say, to your point about how they should have covered Marvin Harrison, he had 11 receptions, 162 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. That's a big game from Marvin Harrison Jr. So that was a pretty big day for Mr. Harrison.
Yeah,
so congrats.
I agree.
Congrats to the Ohio State Buckeyes on a fine day in Columbus. We wish you a lot of luck against Wisconsin. And Penn State Niederlines, we wish you a lot of luck. And you should be able to rebound nicely on CBS against Indiana. I will say, somebody in the CBS office likes our very good friend who's a big Indiana fan. So that's what I'm thinking right there. They're like,
yeah.
We like what he says. Well, moving on to our next game, the third Saturday in October, the Alabama-Tennessee game. That was a pretty big one, I'm not going to lie. And I was worried because Alabama was down 20-7 going into halftime. And then we see a resurgence. We see an amazing resurgence from the Crimson Tide in the second half. Jalen Milroe making big plays, Will Reichard making some big kicks, Jace McClellan, and how about that scoop and score by Campbell?
Yeah, that was a big turnaround because at that point I believe it was 27-20 Tennessee. Joe Milton, they hadn't quite lost it just yet, and then the turnover, and then it's like then we ended up with the final score that we got. But Tennessee was looking really good for the longest time, but then Milton just throwing the pick and then the turnovers, and it's just like Tennessee, kept shooting themselves in the foot. And then for this day, for whatever reason, Alabama finally decided to put some offensive series together in a row and they look complete as they did today. I'm very impressed with the Crimson Tide. I know you, Jackson, are probably thrilled that you saw them put some offensive drives together back to back to back. Because normally it's touchdown, 3 and out, touchdown, 3 and out, or touchdown, field goal. And it's like, can we put some drives together? And today you did that. You put a bunch of good drives together, and it led to another win over Tennessee. And Tennessee, I picked them in the preseason to beat you guys. I thought they had the momentum coming in. Well, Joe Milton is no Hendon Hooker. He showed that today.
Well, I will say though, the number I'm really liking right in front of me is that we had only 1 penalty. So we didn't really have any penalties today. So that was a start right there. I mean, I loved it. It was just I'm so sick and tired of the penalties.
Yeah. As a fan, it's hard watching when your team just gets penalized and penalized. It's like, stop shooting yourselves in the foot. And just imagine, Jackson, put this into perspective a little bit. Last week, if Alabama hadn't got so many penalties, they probably could beat Arkansas by more, which we'll get to Arkansas later on
Geico makes
when we talk about the other
easy as
games.
loving
But
Parmesan.
Say when.
and apparently Geico is advertising us today.
Yeah.
There we are. Geico, you get an advertisement today. Sorry about that. But on the Alabama, I think there's... Yeah, I just think Alabama, they're hanging in there. That's all that matters. They always say champions find ways to win. And that's the epitome of Alabama. They don't look pretty doing it. A lot of Alabama fans are used to the Tuas, the Jalen's, and the offenses lighting it up, putting up 41 points and blowing teams out. This is not a team that's going to go out there and just absolutely have pretty offense. This is a team that's going to win a game like you've seen today. And you know what? I can't speak for every Alabama fan, but I'm sure most Alabama fans would be happy to take this win today. I'm sure they'll be pride and joy to death because they got Tennessee back.
Yeah.
After what they did to them last year.
Oh man, I mean, I'm happy Bama got revenge on this game, because I mean, usually I'm not worried when it comes to revenge games, but this time I was a little worried because this year and the last year and the year before that, we have not looked so hot because of the penalties. But today we've had only 1 penalty, so I'm thankful for that. And now Saban is 21-2 in rematches following losses at Bama. So that's something I can definitely feel pretty good about.
Yeah. Well, and here's another thing too that's kind of interesting. Y'all got a bye week this coming week as well before your big rematch with LSU, which we'll talk about LSU a little later. But and what they did today, but Bama's got a week to rest and get ready for that one. And we'll see if LSU is everything that they are brought up to, that everyone keeps saying that they are. We'll see that in due time. But as for Alabama, congratulations to all the Tide fans out there. Another great win. And let's hopefully y'all keep it rolling. Ooh.
Here's a good one we got. Utah and USC. That was a great one. You got a little bit of insight on this game. What was your take on the Utah Utes and their fantastic finish?
tell you what, Jackson. For me, watching Utah, I have to watch them on a regular basis, whether I like it or not. Which I don't mind Utah. They're a nice team to root for. But as far as Utah is concerned, this team just keeps gutting wins out, kind of like Alabama has been lately. No Cam Rising, no Brent Key. Cole Bishop was suspended the first half of this game. It seemed like everything was going the Trojans' way. Everything was set up for them to get a bounce-back win after the way they looked against Notre Dame. But Utah, Bryson Barnes just kept fighting, kept clawing. And you know something? Jackson, you said to me earlier that the guys on the After Dark show on the Voice of College Football, which go check him out, great stuff, said that they're not worried about Utah. I think this is a landmark win for the Utes. And Oregon next week better be prepared because Utah's not going to lay down for anybody. And they showed that tonight. After whatever was said, I'll keep repeating it. Championship teams find ways to win. Go ahead, Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason Utah is a 2-time conference champ. I mean, defense is one of them. I mean, that defense did just enough to win this game. And even though USC is, unfortunately, I'd hate to say it for our USC friends, but USC's out of national title contention. But they're still in conference title contention. Let's not forget.
Now, I would like to bring up, let me ask you, Jackson, would you blame this loss on the USC defense? Because I know that's been what everyone points to us for defense. Would you blame the loss on them tonight, or just USC's inefficiency altogether?
I would say a little bit of both, the defense and the inefficiency altogether. Because, I mean, 235 passing yards allowed, 247 rushing yards allowed. That is not championship material, man. I mean, no. You can't do that.
I tell you what, too, Jackson. The bad part about it is USC, with their defense, last year did so well was get takeaways at the right moment. And tonight they got the biggest takeaway that I thought that would ultimately lead them down to win the game. Is they got the pick six on Bryson Barnes. And I'm sitting there watching thinking, oh boy, here we go. USC gets a pick six and Bryson Barnes is going to stall out and they're going to come right back down the field. But what happens? Utah, with their championship toughness and grit, don't let it get to him. And Bryson Barnes answers right back, and it's like with a field goal. And it just seems like that's the story of this game. Whoever had the ball last was going to win this game, and it was Utah tonight. Just like last year at Salt Lake, whoever had the ball last was going to win, and it happened tonight. Bryson Barnes made the biggest play of the game, ripping off that run, and then Utah kicking the game-winning field goal. I mean, no ball to Caleb Williams, even though the defense was all up in his grill all night long. But USC, unfortunately, will not be going playoff hunting unless there is let's just say unless there's some craziness that happens. You never want to rule that out.
Yeah, I mean, USC's going to need some 2007 magic to come out, and they're going to need to win out, but they need to win out anyhow, especially in conference play. I mean, the only easy game I see is California next week, but the other three games, Washington, Oregon, and UCLA, those are not easy games.
Here's another interesting tidbit. Utah now has the inside track on USC. They now own the tiebreaker, so we could see a scenario where if these two teams are fighting for the second spot and Oregon or Washington happen to hold the first spot, it's like, well, Utah, you beat USC, so you get that second spot. And that's Now, there is always a scenario where we get a little mathematicianness out there, whereas we're in the preseason, I had all three Utah, Washington, USC at 10-2, and we tried to figure out who got that spot in my preseason predictions, but this isn't the preseason no more. So, anywho.
Nope. I mean, USC's going to have to figure out what to do on defense. I mean, they're going to have to figure out something. I mean, we don't know what it's going to be, but it's just going to have to be something.
Now, I want to ask you something, Jackson. Do you think that last roughing the passer call that was called Bear Alexander, was that roughing the passer in your opinion? You know, because he did hit him on the head, but it wasn't full force driving him. I know we've seen worse. I mean, obviously, the Tom Brady one in Atlanta comes up, but your opinion on that essentially took out one of their best pass rushers.
Oh, that was nothing compared to what. That was nothing compared to what I saw on Riley Leonard tonight on Florida State Duke, which we'll definitely get to in a minute. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I understand momentum carries you and you just have to hit them, but like you said, Jackson, it's like if you don't put them in a bedtime nappy with a binky in a bottle, they call it. So it's just hard anymore, especially with the way they like to protect quarterbacks. But it is what it is. USC still had opportunities. I mean, the 4th and 1, what a play! I mean, they ran a draw right up the gut. And everyone knew that was what was coming, but USC still couldn't stop it. Like, what was going through your head at the time, Jackson? Like me, I was like, they're going to stack the line and they're going to stuff it. Oh, he had just enough room to get right through. Like, what were you thinking when he got that on that QB draw?
I was like, wow.
Yeah, I agree. But, hey, congratulations to the Utah Utes, Jackson. I mean, when we keep talking about USC and their miscues, let's celebrate Utah. I mean, this was a monumental landmark win, and Utah is 6-1, believe it or not. And, you know, and Jackson, me and you had conversations. Me and Jeffrey from Home Top Sports, Will and D, Mark, we've all had conversations. If Utah can make it through their non-conference, they have a good chance. Well, they're sitting here 6-1 with the 2 hardest games in front of them being Washington and Oregon. If they somehow win both of those and can win the pack, what's stopping them from the playoffs? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but what would be stopping them?
Well, I mean, they do have like a big win over Florida dating back to week 1, so that can help Utah quite a bit.
I mean, Jackson, it's like everyone's like, oh, Utah, they're going to have down years, especially if Cam Rising don't return. You know, everyone was doubting, oh, if he doesn't return by USC, their season's lost. They still have their entire season in front of them. And Cam Rising has not been on the field all year long. And they're still doing this. They lost Grant Keithy. They lost Thomas Yasmin. I mean, Utah just keeps getting hit after hit. And Kyle Whittingham says, you know what? Let's roll with it. I like the team that we have. Let's roll with it. Let's see what we can do. And you get results like this. I mean, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, unfortunately, we have some breaking news from, ESPN and All Utes Fan Nation from Sports Illustrated. But Kyle Whittingham has confirmed that Cam Rising and Brant Kuth are out for the season. They've been without these 2 guys all year. And we've been talking about whether Cam Rising is going to be on the field at any point this year, or if he's going to take the medical red shirt in 2024. And there was numerous reports from Josh Newman from KSL talking about whether he was going to get a medical red shirt, but it looked like he was going to. So, what's your reaction to that, Austin?
I think, you know what? I wish the guy Cam Rising nothing but health and love. He needs to get his knee healed up. Especially if he wants a future in the NFL. I get it. He loves this team, just like all the fans do, and like Coach Whittingham does. But his health is number one. Get healthy. Knee injuries are nothing to mess with. But I just hope for his sake, he's healthy. He gets healthy. He gets happy. And hopefully he gets redshirt. He gets the chance to finish his career right. I just want him to. Cam Rising he's just the guy you like to root for. I just hope he gets to finish his career right, and he gets a proper send-off, like maybe winning a Rose Bowl next year.
For sure.
Or maybe this year.
Well, I will say, though.
Wishes to both of them. Go ahead, Jackson.
I was going to say that if he is able to return for next year, he's going to have a lot of fun in the Big 12. He's going to have a magnificent time in the Big 12. Especially getting to see what the Holy War is like against BYU as a conference opponent.
Yeah. It's kind of sad, though, Jackson. I mean, the last year of the Pac-12, and he's going to miss all the games? That kind of is a downer. Like, I know we're supposed to be celebrating Utah, but that's kind of a downer. He doesn't get to play one more time.
That is true. But, we wish Cam Rising nothing but awesomeness, and we wish him to be 100% healthy, and we pray for his health. And again, we wish him nothing but awesomeness, and congrats to the Utah Utes on a fine, fantastic finish on Saturday night. And as for the USC Trojans, we wish you a lot of luck on the defense, and we hope you get it fixed real soon. So I want to go over a little bit about Duke and Florida State tonight. What was your thoughts on Florida State as they were down 20-17 in the fourth quarter, but they scored 21 unanswered points? What was your take on all that, Austin? It's pretty big. It was. So I'm looking at Duke, Florida State. Austin will be back with us momentarily. Computer problems are going on at the moment. But as we talk a little bit about Duke, Florida State, Riley Leonard was a game time decision. And fortunately, he was able to come in for a little bit, but he was not all there. But Mike Elko was able to say, hey, you're not feeling healthy. Just keep yourself healthy. We got to get you staying 100%. Got to make sure of that. So it looked like Duke could pull off another upset, right? But it was just not meant to be, unfortunately. But here's a little fun fact going into today. Did you know that Duke has never had a single win in the history of playing Florida State in the series history?
I didn't know that. That's actually pretty interesting. college. But yeah, on this game though, after my technical difficulty issue, boy oh boy, I thought dude was gonna get him, Jackson. I did. I was watching both USC and Houston, and I was watching two Florida State on my phone. I was like, oh boy, my defense looks good. The defense, Duke looks like it's cooking something up. Mike Elko off the bye week. I mean, not off the bye week, excuse me. Off the good win, great win over NC State, and then George Travis is like, not today, Duke. Sorry. You don't get to go into Louisville's momentum. Sorry. And which, to be honest with Jackson, Ron Leonard looked okay. He looked like he still had some gippiness in that ankle. He doesn't look like it's completely 100% just yet. I feel like if he was able to stretch the field with his legs and making more of a run threat, he might have had a chance. Might have. But the fact that he couldn't run as good kind of gave Florida State the okay to, we can bring all outlets if we want to. We can play really high defense because he's not as mobile. And as you can see, the bounce just over at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty nice to see that Florida State is 7-0 for the first time since 2014. That is pretty sweet, by the way. Although, I will admit, I was wrong to doubt this Seminoles team in the preseason. I thought it was just going to be another overhyped team in the preseason, but they've shown that they are not overhyped, that they are worth the hype. I mean, you take games like they've had against LSU and like they've had against Clemson and like they've had tonight against Duke. I mean, I'm looking at what Jordan Travis has done tonight. 268 passing yards, 27 of 36 completed passes, 1 rushing touchdown, 62 yards. I am astonished and I am impressed with this team.
Yeah, Jackson right there next with you. I hope you have an extra chair because I got to eat some crow too. I don't believe in Florida State either. I mean, they made a believer out of him as well. I didn't think they were all that much of a hype. I was like, this is what Florida State's done to us in the past. They get rolling at the end and then coming in next season, the preseason top 10, and then it all goes downhill. And it goes 7-5, 6-6. And obviously, they've proven us all wrong, especially me and you. They're legit. They're the one team in the ACC right now. And who knows who's going to come out and face them in Charlotte in a couple of weeks from now, because Lord, oh Lord, we'll get to it in a minute. But Lord, oh Lord, they just got crowded for the second spot. I mean, goodness gracious. Congratulations, Florida State, on the great win. And hopefully you have no subs and you can continue your way possibly to a playoff spot. And maybe even George Travis gets admit his spot in the Heisman.
I don't think
Tough is so prepared.
I don't think they'll have a problem being able to get in the playoffs. All they got to do is just stay unbeaten. They're good to go. So there we go. Moving on to our next game. Oh, here was a good underrated matchup. The Oklahoma Sooners and the Central Florida Knights. Now, this is going to be the only time where they are conference opponents. So that's going to be sad, but at the same time, it's pretty fun. Malzahn has shown in his career that he can be a pretty big Jekyll and Hyde coach, where in the games they shouldn't win, his teams always break out the big moments. But in the games they shouldn't lose, they always lose. For example, Central Florida a couple weeks back, they blew a 28-point lead against Baylor. And now today, they're giving Oklahoma trouble. And John Rice Plumlee, he had a pretty fantastic game today with 16 of 30 completed passes, 248 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, we look at the scoring summary. We look at the scoring. We look at the scoring summary, and let me just tell you, this was not expected. But here we are. It happened, and it did.
Yeah.
Well, it almost happened.
Yeah, this was a game that I know a lot of good buddies of ours said that Oklahoma should roll big, that UCF, they're not the team that everyone thinks they are. And then Oklahoma almost lost it. Because it was 23-17 into the fourth quarter. And I was sitting there thinking, is UCF about to pull the rabbit out the hat for Oklahoma? This would be such the Oklahoma thing to do. You got the big win over Texas. You got a big one next week against Kansas on the road. It's like Dylan Gabriel and the Oklahoma Sooners clutched it out at the end. Nick Anderson, big day through the air for him. But UCF, like you said, Jackson, they're a team that you can't predict. 1 minute, they're losing to Baylor 36-35, blowing 28-point lead. And then the next minute, they're almost beating Oklahoma on the road. It's like night and day with this team. 1 minute, you think, they'll be 6-6, make it to a bowl. The next minute, you look at them and say, good grief. Maybe 8-4 if they play like this all the time, and maybe they can upset a few people along the way. It's just one of those things that's a hard thing to figure out. And Oklahoma almost threw the baby out of the bathwater, as you like to say.
True. I mean, they almost blew it. And I'm just going to tell you, those next 2 weeks, you can't afford to be blowing up, especially on big noon kickoff against Kansas. And you can't be blowing up in your final time having the Bedlam matchup against Oklahoma State. As for Central Florida, we wish you a lot of luck, and just we hope you make it to a bowl game. And Malzahn, you guys stop being such a Jekyll and Hyde coach.
Exactly. But hey, all credit. I know I said this a couple times. All credit to Oklahoma. They hung on though. They did. It's just it wasn't a pretty win. I don't know how much this is gonna hurt when the first CFP ranks come out, but a win is a win. But I will say though, before we move on to Jackson, I am kind of scratching my head. What kind of play call was that on the game time 2-point conversion by UCF? A swing pass? And there's 3 guys over there? Please explain to me the thing behind that. I get it if you have a speedy receiver, but by no means was the guy that was catching speedy. You could draw up a better play than that.
Yeah, I was confused by some of the play calls that Central Florida was making, just as I was by some of the play calls Penn State made today. I mean, it was just, I was confused by a lot of teams, especially by this one.
Yeah. Oklahoma almost blew it. They didn't. Congratulations to them for keeping their unbeaten streak going, and we'll see how they do against Kansas next week. But this was a great game, an unexpected great game, and I'm glad we got to witness this. This was fun. I enjoyed this one. Didn't have high expectations. I was expecting this to be a 14, 17-point Sooners win, but we got a great game out of it, so I'm all good.
True. So the memo for us is anytime Central Florida and Gus Malzahn are playing against a team where they shouldn't be, expect them to beat the spread. But when they're playing against a team that they should beat, pit that team to beat the spread against Central Florida. And you may want to pit them to beat Central Florida on the money line.
Yep. Yep, 100%.
So that is the way to go.
But on to the next game. Woo! How about that Air Force game today, Jackson? What'd you think of it today?
I didn't catch much of it, but I saw where Air Force was making life miserable for Navy. I mean, one thing that shocked me was that 94-yard pass by Air Force. I mean, Air Force and Navy and Army, they are not known for big time passes. I mean, that is not their whole MO. They're usually known for the triple option. But Dane Cinnamon, oh man, that was fantastic right there. Great catch.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, we were talking about all these bigger teams. I was like, let's give some love to Air Force. They're unbeaten, and here they are. I mean, Jackson, could they be one of the non-Power 5 New Year's 6 representative? Is that a possibility?
That's a question I asked myself earlier today and last week, and basically all throughout this month. Is this the year where the Mountain West gets a team in the New Year's Six instead of the American Athletic Conference? That's the question. I mean, we've seen some fantastic teams like Fresno State, Wyoming, Air Force. We can only name like one team from the AAC, and that's Tulane, but that's about it, really. But the Mount West, they've had some amazing games this year. I mean, especially Wyoming. I mean, the fact that they pulled off that upset over Texas Tech still blows my mind.
When all eyes are on you, my eyes are glued to the game.
Yeah, the fact Wyoming.
Yeah.
But I will say,
Jackson.
I'm sad to say Boise State is not among those teams that are contending for the Mount West.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, all it goes to Air Force. Congrats on a big win, beating Navy. Now, hopefully you can beat Army coming up soon. But I thought we should show love to the armed forces today. That's such a
true, man. We show our love to the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army. No doubt about that. They're some of the best, and the Marines as well.
Yes. Yeah, they do a lot for us. But they're 7-0 and looking good.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm loving what Troy Calhoun is. I'm loving what Troy Calhoun is doing at Air Force. Loving what Troy Calhoun is doing at Air Force.
Yes. How he's been able to make them what they are, yes, it's a big time. I think they have a great future ahead in the Mountain West.
We love our house.
It's on a great block, tree-lined streets.
The neighbors.
So there we go.
We have bigger fish to fry. I think, we should really talk about, we got to rip the Band-Aid off. Jeffrey, if you're out watching, I'm so sorry. We got to. Jackson, do you want to talk about North Carolina, Virginia?
Yes, we do. We got to. And especially because this is the first time Virginia has beaten a top 10 team on the road in school history.
Yeah. I don't know whether to be disappointed with North Carolina, Jackson, or to be ecstatic for Virginia. I mean,
both.
Like North Carolina. Yeah, take it away, Jackson. I'm sure you got thoughts. Take it away. I'll let you start. I'm still confused how's happened.
I will say though, I was none too happy about how North Carolina performed, but at the same time, I'm pretty happy for the University of Virginia because they need some good days. Because I mean, look at them right there. They started off 0-5, and you expect them go down against Tennessee. You expect them go down against Maryland for a little bit, but NC State, the way they lost, that was just pitiful. The way they lost to Boston College, that was pitiful. You expect them to beat William and Mary. That was pretty big. But the fact that they beat North Carolina was pretty awesome. Do we see some of that
Yes.
same magic come against Miami? Well, I mean, Miami is known to be a Jekyll and Hyde team, which we'll definitely get to Miami here in a little bit.
Yeah. I tell you what, Jackson, what's intriguing about this is who in the world is gonna get that second spot in the ACC. I mean, one minute everyone's talking about I think Louisville, how they're better than Carolina, everything else, but then we lose to Pitt the way we did because Jerome likes to blow it after a big top 10 win, which is very frustrating, might I add, but it's not on us. And everyone's like, oh, it's going to be Carolina, Florida State, no doubt about it. Carolina's not going to slip up anywhere. Look at their schedule. Their biggest games are out of the way. And then they slip up here, and it's like absolute madness. It's like, who in the world is coming out of the ACC? And as Jackson had on the screen, you see who's number 2? You see who's number 2?
I see
you
Louisville.
see him in the Ville. We still here? Go
yes,
ahead, Jackson.
I do.
I got a little excited.
I see Louisville still there, and we don't know where College Game Day is going to. We know Big Noon Kickoff is going to Oklahoma, Kansas. Still don't know where Game Day is going to. But Louisville, Duke, that's going to be a premier matchup next Saturday. But the thing that's really shocking me, though, is that Virginia still has a say in conference play for that second spot. That's the thing that shocks me of all things. But you never know in the world of college football.
Well, you look at it, real quick. It's like Virginia Tech. They're another one that still has a say. It's like, man, Duke's still there. The winner of our game next week is going to have the inside track. I mean, I don't foresee a Florida State slip up, so they should hang on to number 1. But we don't know anything happen.
There is one location.
You have for Florida.
Let's not forget.
Go ahead.
They have to go to the horror show that is Pittsburgh. I mean, I know Pittsburgh. I know that Pittsburgh. I know that Pittsburgh choked against Wake Forest today, but they're a completely different animal, as you well know, against top 25 teams under Coach Pat Narduzzi. I don't know why Pittsburgh is so down, but I'm thinking honestly, Coach Narduzzi is distracted by a job offer. I'm wondering if he wants to go back to Michigan State. That's my question, but that's another time for another day.
Yeah, I will say on that Wake game, a lot of the problems with Pitt, a lot of people blamed on Bill Jakovic, and it kind of was his fault. It was also the fault that the offensive line wasn't protecting him good enough either. I mean, he was throwing 3 picks a game almost, and it was like, you're not going to football that way. I mean, goodness gracious, Cincinnati beat you. What's wrong with you? And Cincinnati is having a down year as well. And I mean, Now
Yeah.
the new quarterback for Pitt is in, maybe they'll do better, but that's not the task in hand.
True. But that Louisville Duke matchup, it's going to have a lot of say on who's in second place in the ACC. Now, even though North Carolina got knocked down a peg by Virginia, and depending on where things go, North Carolina is not in the playoff race at the moment. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah. I will say this, Jackson, on Virginia, though. Who's the performance out of them? I mean, on the road in Chapel Hill, everyone was saying, oh, Carolina at home, defense is going to be fired up and rocking. Virginia, they're 1-5. And Tony Elliott has his guys ready to play. Musket, out there running the ball and slinging it. Jackson, could Virginia go on a run to make a bowl? Should we? Is it too close to call it a comeback?
And we're most definitely going to see on Thursday night where Virginia Tech has a say in conference play, especially against Syracuse on Thursday night in Blacksburg. Question is Blacksburg, Virginia still the scary place that it was in years past on Thursday night? Or have things changed from the Beamer era to the current era that much? That is the question right there.
Yes. Yeah,
But
another interesting game. I'll go ahead, Jackson.
I will say there was one game that I saw. I just hope there's not any sign stealing on this one, if you know what I mean. But oh man, this one. Michigan State.
Michigan, Jackson, absolutely just they obliterated them. I turned it off after the first quarter. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I was like, well, I see where this is going, and you know, I always expect rivalry games to be close. Tonight, big rivalry game. East Lansing, big time. EBC's got this. Michigan is doing Michigan things. They're 49 points and holding Michigan State to 0. I mean, Michigan State, this is your rival. Have some pride. Put up a field goal, would you? I mean, JJ McCarthy, that Michigan team, they look like one of the most complete teams in college football right now. I mean, other than Georgia and maybe Ohio State, there's not really a team that has earned the number one spot more than Michigan. The only thing holding them back is their schedule isn't as good looking as maybe it should, but the fact that Rutgers is now bowl eligible, which we'll get to in a minute, ULB is only got one loss. It's like, maybe their schedule is better than we are. But not much to say here other than Michigan took out their anchor on them for sign stealing, for all the allegations. Yeah. They're like, we'll take it out on Michigan State. Their season's over anyway. Go ahead, Jackson.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I forgot all about UNLV. I mean, it's like, how could I forget the magnificent job that Barry Odom has been doing with UNLV this season? I mean, he's done such a fantastic job over in Vegas. But as for Michigan, they had a great night tonight, and I'm just glad I wasn't Michigan State. They were not too happy.
Yeah, this was a beatdown at its finest, and it continued. But I tell you what, Jackson, I tell you what was a beatdown. Washington State, Oregon. That was a fun game today in Boston.
Oh man, Oregon was not happy today, but Washington State played better than I thought they would. Fortunately, Cam Ward, as I look on the stats, He had 438 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 34 of 48 completed passes. And we see Oregon, Bo Nix, in his 54th career start. He had 18 of 25 completed passes, 293 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Bucky Irving had a great day. Bucky Irving had a great day. 15 carries, 129 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jordan James had a pretty good day as well. 103 rushing yards, 13 carries. Didn't carry over to any touchdowns, but that's okay. Tez Johnson, he had 94 receiving yards and 6 receptions and a touchdown. There's Bucky Irving again, 3 receptions, 51 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. So basically, Bucky Irving had 3 total touchdowns and let me see, 180 all total yards on offense. Great performance. So that
you want to know something crazy?
What's that?
Do you want to know what the opening spread for this game was?
Ooh, I am so curious. What is it? What was it?
20 and a half Oregon. I'm thinking to myself, 20 and a half? I'm taking that. Washington State's gonna cover that. What's wrong with you? And as you see, they did. But I can see why it's an option. Oregon was coming off a loss. I get maybe why they had to spread so high. But it's not a bad team.
True.
They're just struggling.
Yeah, I mean, I think, people have forgotten about the magnificent performances they had against Wisconsin and the magnificent performance that they had against Oregon State in the Pac-2 title game on Fox. But UCLA's defense, they basically gave everybody a blueprint on how to beat Washington State. Arizona obliterated them. And the fact that Washington State was having to go to Autzen instead of playing this game in Pullman was basically an indicator as to why, like you said, Oregon was a 20.5 favorite.
Yeah. But, I just think, Oregon, they're one of the most complete teams in the Pac-12. They've shown that. But I'm kind of curious what they're going to do next weekend against Utah. Because Utah is, to me, the measuring stick. Everyone keeps saying it's Washington. Until someone beats Utah and wins the Pac-12, Utah's the measuring stick. So let's see how Oregon does. But speaking of the Pac-12, Jackson, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not seeing 7-3 Arizona State over Washington. What is happening? The same isn't in the dead. What is wrong?
Man, Michael.
I'm seeing that correctly. The good people at home seeing that correctly.
Yep, I'm afraid so. It looks like Michael Penix is not having a good night. I mean, I think they're a little hungover from that Oregon victory last week. I mean, I'd probably be a little hungover too if I beat one of my biggest rivals in all of college football and College Game Day was there. I mean, good grief.
And look, and heading into the fourth quarter too. Oh boy. What if Washington loses this game, Jackson?
Ooh.
That hurts their playoff chances big time. And
that's going to be a
Say,
nightmare.
Arizona State is the playoff killer. Jackson, ask Oregon fans. Arizona State always does this. 2018, they killed Oregon's dreams. And it looks like they might kill Washington's right in front of us. But we'll have to see on that. UCLA, on the other hand, is making sure Stanford have no comeback this time. Good grief, putting it on them.
Yeah, I mean, like Washington's sitting there. Yeah, Washington's like, We're the champs. We beat the Oregon Ducks. We're gonna win the Pac-12. Arizona State's like, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like that little kid teasing them with candy. Like, oh, you want it? You want it? Oh, too slow. But I tell you what, though, Wash better get it together. And Jackson, this makes an even bigger statement. Because if this is in the desert, you could chalk it up and say, oh, it was a desert, things cookie happened there. But this is in Washington, Jackson. It's at home for the Huskies. This is a bad look. Just like for Carolina. It's always a better look if you lose on the road. Like, it's a bad look regardless, but at least if you lose on the road, you can chalk it up as it's a road loss. It happens. But they were both at home. This is very concerning. But I tell you what else was concerning. TCU apparently is a one-hit wonder, Jackson. Did you see that game?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I unfortunately didn't watch much of it because I was keeping my eyes on Utah, USC, and Duke, Florida State, and bits and pieces of Clemson and Miami. But when I got a glimpse of this score, I'm like, oh, wow. TC's really missing Garrett Riley. You know, somebody said on Twitter today, Coach Prime broke TCU. What do you think about that statement, Austin?
I think it's a very compelling and interesting statement. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You know, TCU was the national championship runner-ups. You know, all credit to him. Sonny Dykes, fantastic coach. I still think he is. He's got a bunch of recycled players trying to get the best out of him. But the fact they were heavy favorites at home against Colorado, the team on the block, because it was prime time, they were like, let's show them how it's done. Let's welcome Deion Sanders to Power 5 football. And then Colorado showed that they can hang with TCU. And I agree that they kind of like shocked TCU, like, wait a minute, we've been sitting here building, grinding, getting our team where we need it to be. And Deion comes in and just does this. He's beat us by 3. That is demoralizing because Colorado was 1-11, Jackson. 1-11. And a 1-11 team beat the national champions runner-ups. How often does that happen? Ever.
True. That is true.
Granted, TCU does have a bad defense, but still, that makes a statement. But, Jackson, what do you think about Kansas State? Is there still a chance they can go back to back?
Well, if they had Oklahoma on their schedule this year, absolutely, they'd have a big chance. But, you know, let's look at the standings for the Big 12 right quick. I mean, we know Texas and Oklahoma are still fighting each other in the Big 12. Oklahoma is leading the Big 12, no doubt. But shockingly, you're going to get shocked by this. Iowa State and Oklahoma State, and let's look at K-State. They're all 3-1 in conference play. Now, mind you, Texas does not have Oklahoma State, but they do have Kansas State on November, the first Saturday of November. And they do have Iowa State the week before rivalry week. Unfortunately, they don't play Oklahoma State. That bites. I mean, not good.
Yeah. Which, while we're on the subject, let's touch on Oklahoma State, West Virginia today. Has Mike Gundy, has he done? I mean, we can get it up there, but Oklahoma State, what a turnaround after losing to South Alabama, 33-7 at home. And look at the Pokies. They just keep winning. and just keep winning. I mean, they took out both Kansas schools. They beat West Virginia today. It just keeps happening. Like,
Oh yeah.
everyone was ready to call for Mike Gundy's job. And here he is.
Oh yeah. I mean, I
he's-
remember.
he is
I
saying-
remember that.
Go ahead.
Like, I remember that there was like these Twitter spaces of Oklahoma State fan bases, and our friend Locked On Oklahoma State, Cody Stark, he's not been too thrilled with how Gundy's been doing. He's not been too happy. And as for West Virginia Mountaineer Nation, Neil Brown created a lot of goodwill by having West Virginia get a 4-game winning streak. But then the moment that Hail Mary pass happened against Houston, it's back to the bad will. And I've got to ask, did that Houston loss break West Virginia?
That's a good one, because it's demoralizing if you think about it. You had game one. You had it won, Jackson. It was 39-35. Garrett Green, hit the tight end on a big 4th and 10 pass. They scored, take the lead, but then the unsportsmanlike conduct. West Virginia probably regretting that right about now still. And then Donovan Smith, the Hail Mary of all Hail Marys. I mean, such a defeating loss like that, it sounds hard to come back. Sometimes hard to recover. I think, like with TCU with Colorado, they just never recovered. And I think for West Virginia, they still haven't recovered, because obviously Oklahoma State put it to them. So it's very interesting. But I'm glad you brought up Houston, Jackson. How did they follow their win up today? Did they beat Texas?
Ooh, that's a good question. And the only matchup that they will have as Big 12 opponents. They almost did, but unfortunately, no. But I will say, best of luck to Neil Brown and West Virginia as they stay home against Central Florida. And we wish Oklahoma State a lot of luck in the rest of the 2023 season. We hope it's a good one. We hope it's a fantastic one. I mean, I got to say, you go from getting obliterated by South Alabama and getting smacked by Iowa State in a way to just rebounding on Friday night against K-State, the defending Big 12 champs, knocking Kansas and knocking West Virginia down. I mean, I'm impressed with this Oklahoma State team.
We love our house. The outdoor space is great.
So it's pretty big. But that Texas Houston game. Oh man, Donovan Smith at Houston. He had a great game. 32 of 46 completed passes, 378 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Wow, that's pretty fantastic. And Quinn Ewers, a great game, 211 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 23 of 29 completed passes. I mean, who'd have thought we'd see Texas and Houston in a tight game? I mean, it's a shame that they're going to be conference opponents once in the Big 12, but, there's always nostalgia of the good old days, way before you and I were born, of Texas and Houston being in the Southwest Conference. So there's that.
Yeah. I would like to point out this game was 21-0 at one point. And Houston came all the way back and tied it. And then Dan Olgerson, after the game, and his post-game press conference, I caught a little bit of it, questioned the referees on that 3rd down spot. I don't know if you saw that, Jackson, when they called it short. Dan Olgerson was like, I don't believe that was short. I believe that was way beyond the first line. He was just questioning the officials. Do you think to you and when people, when coaches, and especially coaches that are on the hot seat, does that reek of desperation to you when they start calling out the officials? Or do you think he had a legitimate argument that, hey, we had plenty for the first down, you just didn't give to us?
I could see where he had a legitimate argument. I mean, that was a good one. But, it's just this is one of those things where it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it
All credit to Texas, though. Oh, go ahead, Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty sad to see Houston lose a tight one, but it was pretty good for Texas. They had a great win right there. It was just a great win. But speaking of somebody that got
Yes.
disappointed, Iowa, Minnesota. I mean,
Oh, boy.
holy crap. That was disappointing. Oh, man. Oh,
Jackson, we touted Iowa too much. I know me and you have had conversations where maybe Iowa, they were 6-1, maybe they run the table and somehow win Big Ten. They could have a spot preserved in the playoffs for them somehow. Well, they blew that today.
well, I will say, I mean, other teams, yeah, you expect them to just blow it. But against Minnesota, the special teams could not bail them out. I mean, Cooper DeJean. I mean, I thought it was a touchdown, but apparently he called he apparently called a fair catch signal, but he wasn't trying to or anything. But what I will show is a tweet from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Shout out to Corey Bratta, who does an amazing job on giving us the news on Iowa Hawkeyes football and Iowa Hawkeyes basketball. He's a great guy. Go check him out. So what I have here is a valid signal and an invalid signal. Valid signal, Article 2. A valid signal is a signal given by a player of Team B who is obviously signal his intention by extending one hand only clearly above his head and waving that hand from side to side of his body more than once. Invalid signal, Article 3. An invalid signal is any waving signal by a player of Team B that does not meet the requirements of Article 2 above. Or, well, that's it for now. But here is something nice from this. This is the first time since 1999 that Minnesota has beaten Iowa at Iowa City. Not only that, but it's the first time since 2014 that Minnesota has beaten Iowa. And PJ Fleck now has his first win against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Austin, my man, what do you think about this monumentous, accomplishment?
I will say on this, Iowa, Cooper G, when he scored the touchdown, I was like, once again, Iowa special teams bail them out. They're going to win it. All that. And then to find out it was unfortunately rolled back as illegal signal, and it was like, okay, well, you still got timeouts. You still, all you needed was a field goal. You lost the 12-10, and then the offense couldn't do anything. It's like, you disappoint me, Iowa. We're just starting to talk about playoffs. You disappoint me.
That is true indeed. But I do have something about Minnesota. I mean, they do have a say in the Big Ten West division, fortunately. But the question is, can they win it with the rest of this schedule? So what I have pulled up is they're going to be playing at home against Michigan State, but do you think they're going to be a little hungover from that upset victory? That is the question there.
And another question is, how eat off has Michigan State coming into this game? Because they just got drummed by Michigan 49 to zilch. How mad do you think they are?
I think they're depressed. I think Michigan State is just depressed. The life is all gone. Like of 2023, they just want to get through this year and prepare for 2024. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, we'll find out. But I just think that getting drummed like that, you would think they'd have some sort of response, especially Minnesota, who just beat Iowa. But you could be right, Jackson. They could just be depressed and like, let's get it over with. But this is Big Ten football. You never assume anything. Because we thought Iowa could run the table, and look what happened. It did not happen today.
True. And, I do have something I'm going to pull up, and this is the Big Ten West standings, although it's going to show the Big Ten standings for a little bit. Now, Wisconsin is half a game up, despite the fact that Iowa has beaten Wisconsin. So, and we see Minnesota's down by a little bit. Nebraska, they can get a leg up if they play their cards right, because Nebraska has Iowa and Wisconsin in the final 2 weeks.
Yeah, they do. I mean, look at it, though, Jackson. But if you look at it, look at Rutgers. They're hanging in there. I mean, got to give them a little shot. Rutgers hanging in there.
Yeah, I mean, Rutgers has their best record. Since,
look at what they did to Indiana today.
Oh, man. Greg Schiano's been fantastic. Greg Schiano's been fantastic this season. He's done such a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but bigger question to me, Jackson, is what happened to Indiana? I did not expect to be 2-6 at this point. I expected at least 3-5, maybe 4-4 if they were lucky. But 2-6, good grief! And they almost blew against Akron.
Akron, good grief! 4 overtimes against Akron. Oh man,
Indiana, get your stuff together. You disappoint your people, especially our good buddy Jeffrey. You disappoint.
Yeah,
Rutgers,
I mean,
other than
it's just bad. It is bad over in Bloomington.
Yeah, but all credit to Rutgers, though. They're 6-2. Other than lost to Michigan, they're sitting nice in the driver's seat.
Well, they do have that loss to Wisconsin as well. So, but they do have Ohio State, Iowa, Penn State, and Maryland remaining on their schedule. But who knows? They could knock Iowa out of the Big Ten West division.
True. Another game that I think we should touch on and give some love to Jackson. How about Missouri today? They look good today. Is it too early to call it? Is Missouri the dark horse in the East? Are they Georgia's best challenger?
That's a good question. I see Brady Cook had another fine performance. Cody Schrader had a magnificent performance. He had 170 all-purpose total yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, including the 159 rushing yards that he had and the 26 carries that he had. Dude was fantastic. But everybody talks about, our good friend Sam Pittman, who's could be on the hot seat. But I think the question is also, what's going to happen with Shane Beamer? I mean, nobody. And I mean,
Lord.
nobody was expecting South Carolina to be 2-5 at this point.
No, you're right, Jackson. In our preseason predictions, I think we both have them going 8-4. Boy, oh boy, are they making us look bad.
Well, I mean,
also,
we both did look like a disaster on our Missouri prediction, but we were likely not the only ones that never had South Carolina going 2-5. I mean, we didn't have that going for SC.
Yeah.
Everybody else, I don't think was thinking that was going to happen. I mean, South Carolina, it's what gives? I mean, y'all didn't look this disappointing last year, especially the final 2 games of your regular season. This year, I got questions.
Yeah. Yeah. But, Max, we're talking about coaches. I think Drinkwitz, I think it's safe to say that his seat is nice and cool now. I think if he can win 2 more games, I think Missouri will be like, okay, Drinkwitz, come back another year. You got us to 9-3. We're good. Maybe even 8-4. But right now, his seat's pretty cool. I mean,
more like
he was on every piece. Oh, go ahead.
Like, more like he could come back for another 5 years. They're I bet you they're pretty happy right now in Columbia, Missouri. I mean, they haven't seen that good of a season since the Gary Pinkel days.
Yeah. They got a week next week, so they'll have some time to rest, and then they go at Georgia. That's going to be very interesting because the first playoff rankings will have come out by then. So Missouri being in the playoff rankings, will Georgia be treating them like, okay, they're no longer to be taken lightly. We have to beat them down. And then they got Tennessee, which the way Tennessee looked today, on the road, Tennessee's a different animal. Florida, I can't figure them out. I mean, 1 minute they're beating Tennessee in the swamp, and then the next minute they look like they did. They can't win a road game. Although they did beat South Carolina last week. And Arkansas, which we'll get to in just a second.
Oh, man.
I have so many questions about them.
Oh, man. Arkansas has just been...
But on Missouri's schedule, though, I could see 9-3. If they beat Florida, beat Arkansas, and maybe beat either Tennessee or Georgia. But as far as Arkansas, Jackson, pull that score up if you would, please. Good grief. Let the fans see the misery.
Well, I thought that without Will Rogers, that I thought it was going to hurt Mississippi State a little bit today. And I thought it was going to give Arkansas a leg up. Because, I mean, that's the only way to go is up. Shout out to our good buddy, Ty Hudson, host of Tusk Talk with Ty Hudson. Sorry to see Arkansas get down quite a lot. And we do wish for them to get off the schneid real soon. I mean, it's just... Holy crap. Something's got to change, especially that offense. I mean, what they need to do is fire Dan Enos and get Ben Arbuckle from Washington State. See if he'll go there. I mean, let's be real.
Jackson, let me ask you. Oh, go ahead.
Like, if I got to choose between Pullman, Washington, and Fayetteville, Arkansas, I'll take the money from Fayetteville, Arkansas. I mean, Pullman's nice, but I'll take my shots at Fayetteville, Arkansas. Although it's not like 1964 Arkansas with Frank Broyles, so be warned.
Yeah, and then and on this game though, Jackson, I thought Iowa played Minnesota today. 7-3. This is like Iowa football here. I mean, really, 3 points, 3 with KJ Jefferson, you couldn't get to 10. I understand Mississippi State's not. Their defense isn't like the great wall of defense, but it's like, good grief, y'all. Like Jackson,
Yeah.
I put myself through this game because I thought this was going to be a fun game to watch. Boy, oh boy, I love defensive game, but this was just like annoying. It's like so many missed opportunities. 7-3. Any way you get a win, you get a win. But Sam
This is
Pittman,
awful.
go ahead, Jackson. I'm
This
lost
is
for
this is awful for Arkansas. I mean, just good freaking grief. I mean, it's oh man, it's just sad. It is sad.
Yeah, it is sad, and hopefully it gets better, but it looks like it may never get better. You know, you never want to call for a man job, but Sam Pittman, Arkansas has been very kind to you and giving you a lot of leeway room, but this may be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I mean, Arkansas is sick tired of losing 7-3 to Mississippi State. They're sick and tired of being competitive. I mean, they want to win these big games, but
True.
at this rate, it ain't gonna happen. But speaking of big games, Jackson, how about Ole Miss today?
Oh man, the Hugh Freeze game. The Hugh Freeze game, that was a magnificent game. Oh, we got an update, and this is nice. Washington is leading now 12-7, and this is because Washington, well, got a little interception. Well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Washington doing their thing. Looks like they may hold on and win. But Ole Miss, Jackson, maybe they're legit. Maybe they're legit. Maybe
Well, they are.
Pittman
No.
is finally.
Well, they are legit, no doubt about it. But we don't think I don't think they can get it done against Georgia, unfortunately. But then again, we'll wait and see. I mean, I don't think any of us thought Minnesota was going to upset Iowa, but here we are. So we've seen strange things happen, especially in college football. So Jackson Dart had a pretty good game, 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 10 of 17 completed passes. But we see that Quinshon Judkins, Mr. Judkins got a touchdown, 124 rushing yards, and 21 carries in the Hugh Freeze game.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding performance by Judkins.
Mr. Judkins, how do you do?
That is for sure. How do you do? But unfortunately,
yes,
we see
like Mike Tirico says, not to cut you off, Jackson. How do you do? But anyway, go ahead, Jackson. My apologies.
So we see that Ole Miss is still down by a game, but that's because that lost to Alabama. But they do have that head-to-head win over LSU. So we're going to find out 2 weeks from now whether Bama still has the revenge, how they do well in revenge games like they did against Tennessee today, or if Brian Kelly has Alabama's number and if that helps Ole Miss in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a lot of very interesting games today, Jackson. But I think the most interesting of them all, Georgia Tech, Boston College. I know that's probably not the most entertaining game to look at, but Boston College is 4-3. As bad a team as we all thought they were, maybe Boston College should go bowling. Has Jeff Hafley cooled his hot seat?
Yeah, Jeff Hafley is looking like he's on the inside track of getting off the hot seat. I mean, congrats on a great victory by Boston College. Kai Robichaud, I don't know how to say his name, but we see too the running backs from Boston College. They've had an outstanding day today, so it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's look at the the fourth down official.
Georgia Tech.
500.
Pulling that up good, buddy. Georgia. Oh, go ahead.
563 total yards on offense by Boston College. Are you sure that's not like a Big 12 game or something? Like, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Is that actually Boston College, Georgia Tech? Oh man.
Unfortunately, yes, Jackson. Maybe Boston College is better than we thought. I know they beat Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech, the table was set. You had to. This is one of the games that you had to win if you wanted to go bowling. And now that you lost it, it's like, oh, now the inside track to go bowling just got harder. And as for Boston College, the table's in front of them. Like, Boston College could go 8-4 with the schedule that they have. So they've got UConn on that schedule. And it's like, how does that happen? I mean, look, they got UConn next week. Syracuse has been known to crap dead. Virginia Tech, Pitt, and then Miami. If they somehow win these games, Boston College could be 8-4, maybe even 9-3 if they win out. I mean, it's crazy to think. And they can get a really good goal off of this. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this does not look like the same team that lost to Northern Illinois and kept it close with Holy Cross. I mean, I think that little butt whipping that your boys at Louisville gave them woke them up. It woke them up big time.
Yeah. They seem to turn a corner, I will say. But let's see how they do off a big win next week against UConn. But be very, very interesting. As Georgia Tech, they still got some work to do. But I will say this, though. But Georgia Tech, North Carolina next week, oh, no. That is not who you wanted to see on the schedule. I'm sorry. I know you beat them last year, but they're mad. They're angry. This may be an ugly game for you. Clemson, Virginia's no gimme. Syracuse,
Virginia's
Georgia,
not even an easy win now.
Jackson. Exactly. I mean, Georgia Tech, you make it so hard on yourself. Oh, Lord. But, Jackson, speaking of making things hard on themselves, let's talk about Miami, shall we? The team that gave it away. How did they do against Clemson tonight? Well, Go for it, buddy.
Oh,
Put it on the big screen. Let the people know.
oh man, the Miami Clemson game. Holy cow! You know, more than the fact that Miami upsetting Clemson being a big takeaway for me and taking it to overtime, I noticed one thing. Nobody was storming the field at Miami over beating Clemson. I feel like it's come to an end officially for Clemson. Like, you know, we've known it for weeks, but I think the plug is pulled on the Clemson dynasty.
Ooh, that's a big statement. That is a big statement, but I think it's a very valid statement, Jax. I mean, like I said with Alabama, when teams are storming the field, it's when you know the dynasty has officially came to an end. Well, maybe that's the case with Clemson. They're not as talented as they used to be. That showed tonight. I mean, Clemson 4-3. They're out of the ACC race. Clemson has won 12 out of the last 13 ACC championships. It's like this year's wide open for anybody to win. And Clemson will not be part of the finish.
You see it, hear it, and feel it everywhere you go.
And
as much as you celebrate the game.
For Miami, after everything that happened to them, fumbling and getting beat up by Carolina, they're sitting there with two losses saying, hey, there's a little chaos going on today. You know, Duke and Louisville still got to play one another. Carolina could slip up somewhere. We're still in this race. It's not over yet. Unfortunately, Clemson, I think once again it's over. They would need everyone to lose big time. They would need it to be like 1960, where everyone drops like 4 games in a row. They would need Syracuse. But go ahead, Jackson. Give me your takeaway thoughts on this game.
So I'm looking at where Clemson was just kind of getting things out the way to start things off in the first overtime. Miami ties it up in the second overtime. And we see Emory Williams, you know, stepping up to the plate because Tyler Van Dyke is out. Emory Williams made some magnificent plays in the second overtime drive. And then we see Miami looking like the 2-point conversion is missed, but flag on Clemson, automatic first down. Then we see Miami getting a second shot at getting the 2-point conversion, and they get it. But then we see Clemson trying to get it done, but the 4th and goal was a good one. You know, the game's on the line. K Klubnik's going to run, but Miami puts a stop to the Clemson Tigers, and it's a victory, 28-20 in double overtime.
Yeah. I question, why did he run to the outside that way? I mean, good gracious, Clemson. I mean, yeah, they knew that was coming. Why did you run that way? Why? Cut inside. Go inside with it. Like, don't to the outside. What is wrong with you? But that's here or there. Congratulations to Miami on such a fantastic win. But
true. Well, we're seeing
Clemson that.
Well, we're
Garrett Riley. Go ahead, Jackson.
Well, we're seeing an update from Washington, Arizona State, and from what we're seeing, Michael Penix is making some big plays to Roma Dunze, and that is resulting in possibly another scoring drive for Washington. And we're seeing as the weather that will result in a touchdown or not. Let's hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and UCLA put the foot in Stanford, make sure that Stanford has no comebacks. But, I mean, 42-7 UCLA looking bad this week. But Washington, if they put another drive together, may be able to survive yet another scare. But Jackson, I think to end our night, I think we got to hit one more game. And the game I'm thinking of, BYU Texas Tech. I mean, is BYU better than we thought? Is Texas Tech?
Ooh,
Well, let's touch on that a little bit.
that's a good question. I mean, Texas Tech is not the dark horse contender that we had them as in the preseason. I mean, Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders are not doing so. They're looking like a disaster. I mean, if any game should have been like an indicator for us that this was going to be a long year for Texas Tech, it was that Wyoming matchup and all the pressure that everybody was putting them under, including Brett Yormark saying, "Hey, no pressure, but on Black Friday, I'm gonna be there to see you guys play against Texas. So, give them hell against Texas."
But yeah, hey, BYU though, Keith Slovis, he's reinvented himself and he's found the team, Jackson. BYU, I mean, look at what they've done so far. I mean, is BYU a sleeper 9-3, 8-4 team in the Big 12? I don't know. I mean, the way they're playing seems like it's gone that way. And Texas Tech is no slouch. I mean, it took Oregon to the limit, almost won the game, but the pick six at the end ended it. But I just think it's interesting because Keith Slovis, USC left him for dead. Then he goes to Pitt. As East season, he comes here to BYU, and he seems to be thriving. I don't know if it's because of the smaller school, and sometimes smaller schools, not a big environment, but as Jackson has pulled up the Texas Tech, not the Texas Tech schedule.
BYU.
Yes, the BYU schedule. Yes, they beat Texas. Yes, they got Texas next Saturday. Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh.
Yeah, and the fact is, this is going to be the only time.
Could they stun
Ooh.
Go ahead.
This is going to be the only time we see BYU and Texas as a conference game. So that'll be pretty big right there.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, and we know that BYU has had Texas's number in years past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have. They have. But I think this is a great way to end it off for the night here. I think it was a great week of college football, especially today. USC Utah was thrilling. Your boys Bama getting their dub going into the bye week, and I think all around Ohio State inserting their dominance. But before we go, Jackson, take it away on your display there, good buddy.
All righty. Well, I mean, I'm showing this little history anecdote of BYU Texas, the history between BYU and Texas. Now, I forgot that they played in the late 80s at one point, but I remembered that Texas played BYU on ESPN2 in 2011. And that was like the only time Texas has beaten BYU. But what I'm also showing is that BYU smacked around the Texas Longhorns 40-21 2013. And in 2014, they smacked them 41-7 in Charlie Strong's first year. So that was pretty big right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be done for sure. But I think this is a good ending spot for us all. I hope you guys enjoyed this, all listeners out there, whether it's the Jacksonian or Sports Talk with Austin. We will hopefully, if you guys like this, please sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe to both our channels. We both produce great content. And Jackson, I know you have a great announcement to make to my viewers and your viewers that want to check you out. What do you got going on Tuesday night? Because I'm sure there will be a particular Trojan that will have some conversation with you. Take it away.
So I'm going to be talking with Tony Altamore Tuesday night, the co-host of the USC post game show and co-host of Pac-12 Chat show, and the author of Deja Vu Wild History Timeline, where we talk about the history of the Pac-12 and the Pacific Coast Conference. The whole history of it, the whole shebang, the good, the bad, the ugly, and even the nasty parts of it. It's all going to be fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
And
I'm looking forward.
And you're going to see it all over Tuesday night right here on my channel, Jackson Johnson. And, you know, you're going to see it at 6:30 p.m. my time, 7:30 p.m. Austin's time. And, I'm trying to get the 500 subs, and I'm ready to get there. And Austin is going to get, and we're going to get Austin to 100 subs. And we're going to get him the 200 subs and 500 subs and 1,000. Going to get it. We're getting it rolling, ladies and gents. And
yes, we are.
Friends of the show.
Yes, we are. We are getting it rolling, but once again, just a friendly reminder, please like, subscribe, comment, turn on notification bells, whichever channel you're on. I think after tonight and the successful Jackson, why not? Let's come back next week and let's talk Florida, Georgia. Let's recap next week, shall we? What do you say?
Sure, why not? We can talk a little bit about Oregon and Utah, and we can see how BYU did against Texas. I mean, that sounds good. Why not?
Yeah. So, mark it down, ladies and gentlemen. Thursday night, after all the big games are over, me and Jackson will be back once again. Hopefully, you guys like and enjoy this. But until then, we're out. Love y'all. Go Cards.
Roll Tide, everybody.